Hello and welcome to Pixel Symphonic, where we celebrate and learn about video game music with the people who make it, the people who listen to it, and everything in between. My name is Joe DeVader, and we are here for our third month in a row. Can you believe it? I can't, and yet I persist. Hope you enjoyed the bonus episode last week. Probably would have been fine just releasing it as this month's full episode, but I figured it being under 30 minutes long meant I'd feel like I'd cheated you out of an episode in May, and besides, this one's a treat, and I wanted you to hear it. My guest today is Alpha Chrome Yayo. ACY has been releasing music since at least 2019, at least based on his earliest releases on streaming services like YouTube Music, but he's a relatively fresh face in the game music scene. Currently, the only release title under his belt is Kaizen Gameworks' 2025 game Promise Mascot Agency, which he worked on alongside fellow composer Ryo Koike. He's since been announced to be the composer on the currently unnamed upcoming game from developer Polygon Treehouse, which means more of his work is on its way down the pipe. In Promise Mascot Agency, you play as a Yakuza man by the name of Michizane, better known by his moniker The Janitor, who is forced to fake his own death after losing a large sum of money during a failed handoff. He is tasked with moving to the broken-down former mining town of Kasomachi, a town said to be home to a curse that kills any Yakuza man who sets foot in it, in order to revive the family's mascot business and pay back the money he lost little by little, so that his family's matriarch can hold off the approaching knives looking to take her life. Michi teams up with a mascot sidekick, a young woman named Pinky, who is in fact a giant severed pinky, and together they set out not only to revive the mascot agency, but also help breathe new life into the struggling Kasomachi. It is a really, really good game. I highly recommend it, especially if you're in the market for a game that is just oozing hope and optimism for the future, or just want a game that is legitimately very funny and charming. It happens to have been my absolute favorite game of 2025, and the soundtrack is a significant reason why. For that reason, I am absolutely thrilled that ACY agreed to talk to me, and after recording our conversation, I felt like I had been given a dose of adrenaline. He's a really fun dude to talk to. I'm so happy I got to do so, and I hope you enjoy. I won't hold you back from it any longer. Let's jump right into it. Also, I forgot to include this in the intro because at the end of the day, I am a clown, and it's already recorded and edited, and I don't want to add to it, so I'll just put it here. In order to record this episode, I basically had to roll out of bed and immediately jump into it. So if you're wondering why my voice sounds like that, it's not because of anything to do with anything really. It's just because I had literally been awake for approximately 10 minutes when this interview started. I just wanted to make sure that's clear. All right, so the first thing I want to ask you about is what I've been referring to as the converging paths. How did you get into music in the first place? And then also, how did you get into games?
Yeah, well, I guess there's a bit of overlap with those things. I mean, I've always loved games and I've always loved music for as long as I can remember. I mean, growing up, like some of my earliest gaming memories are playing the Sega Mega Drive, and I remember even then kind of being obsessed with how these things sounded. I mean, I had no conception that there was a person making the sounds and that was something you could do or even do for a job. But, you know, I remember playing Streets of Rage and loving that soundtrack, the Yuzo Koshiro soundtrack, and, you know, being obsessed with the sounds of Sonic and Sonic 2 in particular. And, you know, I and similarly, I always loved playing music. You know, I learned piano from a young age and then moved on to saxophone and guitar and stuff. So, you know, I guess it was only natural that those paths would cross at some point. And as soon as I found out that being a composer for a career is possible and a thing that people did, and specifically a composer for games, I really wanted to do that. And I studied music in school and everything. I had a teacher who was a bit of a jerk who kind of put me off the idea. yeah, that bummed me out for a while. He yeah, for somebody who teaches music, he didn't really instill a love of music in a lot of people. I remember specifically him telling me that soundtracks aren't real music, and that's even
Oh,
before considering game soundtracks. So that sucked. Um, but I came back to it eventually. For a while, I studied film at university, and I worked in film for a bit, and then in radio for a long time. And during that, I started making music as Alpha Chrome Yayo and self-releasing it on Bandcamp and stuff, but still bubbling at the way at the back of my mind was the fact that I really wanted to make music for games. I started getting some commissions to do that, and then some commissions turned into lots of commissions, which is brilliant. It's a lovely position to be in. And then I found myself turning down game music work to do a day job that was bad for me physically and mentally. I just thought, well, why the hell am I doing this? So as of, I'm basically in my second year now of doing working as a composer, mostly for games and entirely full time. And dude, I've never been happier. It's a delight.
that's awesome. I'm really glad that it worked out in the end. It does sort of suck. I had a creative writing teacher when I was a kid who I don't think he disliked creative writing. I think he just disliked me, but like having an instructor like that that just
Yeah, it sucks, especially when these are people who ostensibly should be instilling a love and a joy of writing or music or whatever it might be. So that sucks, but hey, I'm glad that we're both doing cool creative stuff. So sucks to be them.
exactly. So you mentioned Yuzo Koshiro. You're actually the second guest I've had in a row to mention
Oh
Yuzo
wow.
Koshiro because you know
Nice.
that I mean it's Yuzo Koshiro. Obviously, you're gonna bring him up. He's one of the best in the business even today. But are there any other games or soundtracks sort of from your childhood that you think really sort of influenced how your style grew into being today?
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. There are so many, and one of the best things about working in games is that you get to work in a load of different styles. So I'm doing a lot of stuff at the minute which skews slightly more horror, creepy direction. So Akira
Ooh.
Yamaoka was and is such a huge influence on me. Um, I'm also influenced a lot by talking of Yamaoka. Um, I play, was play slash read a lot of visual novels. I love the music in that because by its very nature, music has to do a load of heavy lifting in those games because you're kind of left alone with some words, maybe some still images, and music and maybe sound effects. So there are loads of visual novel composers who I just adore. There's one called Dai who worked on stuff like the Higurashi series, but actually more recently worked on Silent Hill F with Yamaoka. So great to see him getting his flowers and stuff as well. There are just so many from many different genres. I'm a big fan of the Persona series, and those soundtracks have had a huge influence on me. I like that they are simultaneously funky and disco-y and upbeat, but they have this kind of they're tinged with melancholia. There's this kind of acid jazz, slight sadness about them, and that's something I'm always really interested in. That you can be working in a genre and a mood, but it doesn't have to be specific. You can allow other little tendrils of emotion to creep in somewhere, and yeah, that means so much to me, and it's stuff like that that I've picked up from listening to loads of soundtracks and playing a million billion games, and I'm never going to stop doing either of those things.
Bring up Yamaoka and Persona. You are in good company, my friend.
Hey, nice.
I absolutely adore both of those things.
Hey, a true man of taste.
Working on something horror, a bit horror
A little bit spooky. I'm doing
leaning.
a few projects at the minute, and it's a nice range of stuff that is very cute and stuff that is very creepy. And I love that because it means that if one half of my brain gets kind of burnt out, I can jump onto the like another thing for a bit. It's nice to be able to work across a few different moods, which is something I always did. Even before working as a composer. Even in my own self-released music, I kind of like just attempting a genre to see if I can do it, or what I would bring to the table to put my own spin on it. It's just good fun. So getting to do that for a career is just goddamn dreamy.
I am very I'm gonna have to keep an eye out for that. I'm very interested. I really love horror games. Yamaoka is a very big reason for that, but I especially really love the sound of horror games. So I'm insanely interested in hearing your
Oh,
take on
dude.
that.
Well, I'm being kind of vague because I'm short of
Oh yeah, no, I
NDAs at the
get
minute.
you.
But I'll be able to talk about a bunch more stuff within the year. So if this is piquing anybody's interest, absolutely keep an eye on my socials. I kind of hate saying that word socials. It makes me feel a bit pukey. But keep an eye on my internet stuff, and hopefully I'll be able to reveal a bit more soon.
Gotcha, gotcha. Looking forward to it. All right. So one thing we'll get into uh, Promise here in a bit. One of the things I did want to talk about is you have a YouTube channel where you put up all sorts of stuff.
Yeah, I put up
Um,
whatever I feel like. Yeah.
pretty that's the general vibe that I got. I mean, you've got a lot of music stuff, obviously, but then you also have like, oh, what if I played this game with the Sega Bass Fishing controller? Um, and I respect, I like that. Um, you through through that YouTube channel, you've kind of shown off you play a lot of instruments, my man. Um, including a couple that, in my opinion, are not super common to find. I did want to ask about one in particular that you seem to go to a lot that I was actually not familiar with until seeing your channel. Ashamedly so. Being the, and I hope I'm pronouncing this correctly, the Taishogoto.
That's it indeed. Yeah, you pronounced it much better than I do. That sounded beautiful. And thank you so much. Hey, feel no shame. I play I play a bunch of instruments, and I love unusual instruments. So the fact that it's something you haven't heard of and got to experience for the first time through my stuff, that means a lot to me, and I really appreciate it. But yes, the taishokoto, which is another name for it, is the Nagoya harp. It is a Japanese instrument, and for anybody not familiar with it, it looks like along the front of it, it's a long sort of strip of wood, like a long kind of plank of wood, essentially, with kind of typewriter keys that you operate with your left hand, and with your right hand, you strum a series of strings. The one that I have is actually even more unusual than that, in that it's a Taishogoto synthesizer. So it's got this weird kind of magical combo that it's built using sampled sounds, but you press real keys and strum real strings. It's unbelievably unusual, and in my opinion, incredibly magical. It's also got weird vocal sounds on it, and it's got like taiko drum pads and stuff. And it's something that I feel inspired just looking at this thing. In fact, I kind of reorganized my studio the other day so that I could have it set up in a way where I could play this thing more readily. I was playing it this morning just for fun. It's a wonderful instrument, and yeah, I love finding new instruments, and learning about the history of them, and doing my best to learn how to play them and stuff. And I have a particular interest in a lot of Japanese instruments. So there's the taishokoto. I play shamisen and shakuhachi as well. Some of these instruments better than others. Everyone has instruments that they can turn their hand to more easily than others. The shakuhachi is a notoriously difficult instrument to play, and I certainly find it very difficult to play. So it's been quite a long journey, and continues to be a long journey learning how to play that and improving my technique as much as I can in every possible way. But I like that instrument, the shakuhachi, because of, well, partly I love the way it sounds and it feels and it looks, but it's steeped in Zen roots, I remember when I first picked it up, I was struggling to even get this thing to make a sound. And I picked up a lot of books by shakuhachi masters, and I read a paragraph in one of them which said, "Hey, don't worry if you're not making a sound. Just enjoy the feeling of breathing through the instrument and even the sound of the air kind of flowing through the bamboo, even if it's not making a musical tone." And I grew to really love that, and from that, I was able to kind of develop it more, so I could play it. But I kind of fell in love with the sound of it not working, just the sound of air rushing through this thing. And I recorded that, and I've sampled it, and I've used it on a few things. It's in at least one of my albums, and it's definitely on the Promise Mascot Agency soundtrack. Just the sound of me not being able to play the shakuhachi, and then afterwards the sound of me being able to play it to hopefully a reasonably competent degree. But man, it's tough. It's picking up a new instrument is you've got like a blank slate in front of you, and that can be incredibly rewarding and incredibly daunting in equal measure. But it's always a great journey to take, learning about these new instruments, new approaches, new ways to craft sound, and just to learn a bit of history. It's cool.
Well, you mentioned I mean, I say mentioned, you've been talking about the Japanese instruments you play, which you don't see a lot over on this side of the.
Sure, sure.
Can I say this side of the world when you live across the
Oh yeah, I guess
the
so. Yeah,
Atlantic Ocean
yeah,
from me?
yeah, yeah. It still counts. You don't see them in the West so much,
Yeah,
which makes them quite difficult to get hold of sometimes. Which hey makes it even more rewarding when I get one up on my doorstep.
and so it's clearly obvious, like Japanese stuff has a huge impact on you and a huge influence in everything. I mean, not only do you do game stuff on your uh to use a term I also don't like, socials.
The socials, yeah, yeah.
Um, but you do a lot of anime stuff too. And you've mentioned like city pop and funk
Sure,
and
sure,
those
yeah.
sort of genres being big influences on you. And I was wondering, like, is there are there any like other non like game artists that you'd give a shout out for, like, oh yeah, these are the kinds of people that pushed me in that direction? Because city pop, while it is an extremely good genre, um and I think you hear it more nowadays. You
Definitely, yeah, yeah.
for a while you weren't getting much of that in games. There was some of it, like I would say some of, not a ton, but personally I would say some of Persona 4 soundtrack is kind of
Yeah,
city
sure.
pop-ish. But that's really the only game that came to mind. Maybe some sort of, I guess, Valhalla, VA11 Hall A.
Yeah, totally.
But were there any like artists in particular that sort of pushed you in that direction?
Yeah, so many artists, both from games and outside of games. I'm a big fan of making music and listening to music. If I'm not making music, I'm probably somewhere listening to music. I was actually downstairs listening to some city pop with my kid earlier. We were listening to Anri's
Oh,
very summery
nice.
album, Timely, which rules so much. As soon as the sun comes out, I'm sticking that on. But yeah, absolutely, so many influences. Both from Japan and from the West and from many countries, but in terms specifically of that Japanese influence, I mean there are loads. There's Tatsuya Mashida, the jazz fusion king. In fact, jazz fusion royalty power couple, married to Maria Takeuchi of Plastic Love fame. Big fan of their work and Tatsu's arrangements for countless jazz fusion artists. Um, but aside from that kind of more city pop leaning stuff, I listen to a lot of traditional Japanese music, a lot of minyo, and a lot of kind of karaoke as well, which is almost like a precursor to city pop in a way. I also listen to a lot of chill sort of Japanese ambient music, very often called like kankyo ongaku, which means environmental music. And you might be forgiven for thinking that means music with kind of nature sound samples, because a lot of them do have nature samples on them. But it's called environmental music because it's music designed to fill your environment, be that your home or your workplace, and you put on this music and you let it run and you enjoy it alongside the sounds of whatever's happening around you, be that the cutlery and plates and stuff as you're making your dinner, or the sound of your children or your family or anything. So I listen to a lot of that kind of stuff. Like Hiroshi Yoshimura is a massive one for me. A lot of early Joe Hisaishi would fall into that kind of camp as well. Sort of slightly more experimental eating stuff than you might normally associate with Hisaishi, who
I
again is
don't think I do that. Yeah, I only really know Hisaishi from his Ghibli stuff and the Ni
sure,
no
sure.
Kuni soundtracks.
Yeah, I mean, it's worth doing a bit of a deep dive. I mean, I probably listened to more of that kind of stuff. I was listening to his Sonatine soundtrack and his Hanabi soundtrack, the Beat Takeshi films that he did, and did many other ones as well. And they're great, and that's kind of what I think what most people would associate him with, that style of music. But his earlier stuff kind of skews a bit more experimental and
Hmm.
a bit more minimalistic, and it's great. It's different, but it rules so much. So yeah, a great artist to kind of do a deep dive on. And my whole life is kind of doing deep dives, both into genres and artists in particular. And I listen to a lot of Western jazz as well. I'm a big jazz kind of guy in general. Um, I mentioned my kid earlier, and I was very pleased. He's 2 years old, so he talks, but he doesn't say a lot. He said the words John Coltrane the other day, which delighted me to no end. So yeah, I'm just anywhere I can find um, new sources of inspiration and just new experiences. I listen to a lot. When I was younger, I was a big metal fan. I still am a big metal fan. It's something I maybe don't listen to quite as much as I used to, and a big kind of pop punk fan as well. I'm just a big fan. I'd struggle to find a genre of music that I don't enjoy to some degree. Aside from anything awful that's full of hatred or something, or hatred
Yeah,
for other people. Obviously, I mean, having a bit of spite or hate in a music in a healthy way, that can be a good thing. But obviously, nothing that is harmful to any kind of group of people or person or anything like that. But yeah, I especially love when kind of genres are smashed together. Talking of metal, I one of the last bands I saw live was the Japanese avant-garde black metal band Psy, who I listened to a lot when I was a kid, and still do. And I love that they kind of smashed together, black metal with kind of disco breaks and sort of flashes of jazz fusion and stuff. I love doing the deep dives on genres, but I love kind of learning the rules so I know how to break them. It's
hmm,
fun taking a genre and twisting it beyond its elastic limit. That's something that I've always been very interested in. So any artists that mangle genres together that's always been of great interest to me. It just it keeps life interesting.
I agree with that. I'm a big proponent for if you think you don't like an entire genre, it's just because you haven't heard the stuff in that genre that would appeal to you.
Absolutely. I could not agree more. 100%. Yeah. That's a good attitude to have.
So I want to jump into talking a little bit about Promise Mascot Agency because that is actually the game that introduced me to your work. It was my game of the year last year. Personally, it was
Hey.
one of my favorite soundtracks of the year. I absolutely adored that game, and I think your work on the soundtrack, yours and Ryo Koike, you guys did a fantastic job.
Oh, that
First of all, just at the
warms
top.
my heart beyond belief. Thank you very, very much. That's incredibly kind of you.
So I wanted to ask, first of all, how did you wind up on the project?
So I was a huge fan of Kaizen Gameworks' first game, Paradise Killer, and
Yeah,
it rules so much, and of course so does the soundtrack by Barry Topping, who is awesome. Um, I think I must have been following them on Twitter. This is obviously years ago, pre Elon,
yeah,
Twitter.
yeah.
Um,
I get you.
yeah, before the deserved mass exodus from Twitter. So yeah, I think I was following Kaizen on there. I think they became aware of me when I think I'd recorded like a little cover of one of the tracks from Paradise Killer. I can't even remember which one because hey, they all rule. They're all bangers. So they saw this video of me doing a little jam on my take on one of the tracks. They followed me back and had very kind words to say about my music on Bandcamp and stuff. I'd done some commissioned composition work at that stage, mostly for stuff like YouTube channels and a bit of radio, a little bit of TV and animation and stuff. I hadn't done any game soundtrack stuff at that point. So, a few months went by and they slid into my DMs and said, hey, could we hop on a meeting and chat about like a possible thing? To which I was overjoyed. I didn't know at that stage what it would be. So we hopped on the call and they told me about this crazy idea they had involving a game with like a Yakuza crime story and sentient mascots and a cursed town. And the whole thing was just brimming with heart and every kind of thing I enjoyed. I knew instantly that I would bite their arm off just to play this game, just to have this game exist, let alone be involved with it. So when they asked if I would be lead composer on the game, I could not say yes quick enough. And that was quite a while ago now. I mean, the game came out kind of this time last year. I think I'd started on the project about between 3 and 4 years before that, so it was quite a while ago. Yeah, it was about 4.5 years ago. I started on the project, and it was my first game soundtrack, and I've been working on a bunch more since then. But that's what kind of got me started in the game world, and I am so eternally grateful for that because it changed my life. Suddenly I was doing what I had always dreamed of doing, and working on the project. It was just such an honor, and still is an honor to be involved. It's the coolest game. It's my favorite game, and I think it would probably be my favorite game, even if I had no involvement in it. I just love it so much. It embodies everything I love about games, about people, about misfits, about community. It's so goddamn cool, and Takaya Kuroda voices Michi in it.
Yeah.
I think the Yakuza games fundamentally changed me for the better. I genuinely think they made me a better person. And when I started making music for myself, it was kind of goofy, kind of crappy music based around the Yakuza games. And like I said, I think those games genuinely made me a better person. So to have that come full circle, and be involved in a game with the voice of Kiryu was just mind blowing. I remember it was like years into the project by the time that was confirmed and I was told about it. And I'm not a dude who is very often lost for words, as you can probably tell, because I'm droning on about a lot of stuff here. But when I heard that Takaya Kuroda was going to be voicing Michi, it just broke me. I couldn't speak. I was trying to. It was in a meeting with I think it was Ollie and Rachel from Kaizen, and I remember them playing me a clip of Kuroda-san saying Promise Mascot Agency, and I just remember saying like, what does this mean? And I just couldn't function. It's the coolest thing. It's still one of the coolest things that's ever happened to me. Both that and just being involved in the game at all. It was amazing to work on. It was amazing to work with Ryo Koike and Nas, who also worked on the soundtrack. Just brilliant people doing cool stuff, and that's my favorite thing in the world.
It makes me feel nice, warm, and fuzzy inside hearing you talk about being excited to work with Kiryu's voice actor. Because
Oh
I,
man.
as a fellow Yakuza fan, that sounds like a dream come true.
I mean, between you and I and anyone listening, as soon as I got off that call when I heard about it, like I burst into tears. It was incredible
Oh
and
yeah,
still
I can
is.
imagine.
It Yeah, I get a bit emotional just thinking about it. It's so cool. So yeah, awesome.
So one of the things I wanted to ask, you mentioned this was Promise was your first time doing a game soundtrack.
Yes, indeedy.
Uh, was there any way that this sort of changed your approach, and what was sort of your process in putting together tracks for the game? Was it just because I know Promise has places where specific songs play, like characters have
Sure, sure.
specific themes, but it also has sort of the same sort of soundtrack that Paradise Killer had, where there is a playlist of tracks that just play while you're out and about in the world. So how did the sort of process, how is the process sort of different between the different kind of songs, and how did it differ from how you usually did music before that?
Sure, a very good question, and yeah, it was a great first game to work on for many reasons, but one of them is exactly that it wasn't too different to releasing an album, which I had done many times at that point. Certainly, as you say, the music that plays like in the truck, and you can drive around and pick up CDs and stuff. Approaching that was very much like just kind of like making an album in a lot of ways. You know, there were some differences, but it was definitely comparable. You know, I was for those tracks, I'm making, you know, Showa influenced jazz fusiony, city poppy kind of sounds that sound cool in a truck and convey the emotions of the mascots and the people of the town. So that was very similar to approaching making an album, making the character themes and the stuff for certain locations in the game. That's a little bit different. You know, because you're not writing for an in-game radio, you're writing for a situation or a character and stuff. But you know, I've always been kind of very visually driven in a lot of ways. You know, as I said, I worked in film for a while. I studied film at university, and when I'm working composing something, I'm looking at it right now. I've got like a little CRT monitor that sits in front of me, and I'm basically always running kind of inspirational stuff on that to vibe with whatever I'm working on, to kind of get me in the zone, you know. So for a lot of those tracks, like the location ones and indeed the character ones, for Promise Mascot Agency, I was maybe running like old Yakuza films or stuff like Twin Peaks and stuff as well. Stuff that would kind of get my brain in that zone very quickly. You know, it's something that really helps when working as a composer is speed. You know, you want to capture a vibe quickly, get ideas down quickly, and you know there can be quite a quick turnaround. If I'm releasing music for myself, you know, I can do it whenever I want to. But if I'm working to a schedule, you know, speed can sometimes be of the essence. Not that any of it was rushed or anything, you know, but I'm conscious that I have deadlines to hit, you know. So anything I can do to get me into that kind of sense of place of time, be that footage from the game or be it other inspirational sources like the movies I mentioned and stuff, that helps me so much, you know. Um, but in general, Promise Mascot Agency was very comparable to making an album. I've worked on games since then, where it's very different. You know, if you're making kind of music that's a lot more reactive or kind of dynamic, depending on what the player is doing and things like that, which is great too. And it comes with its own kind of set of challenges. But certainly for PMA, it was definitely not too far removed from what I was used to doing at that stage, which was great because it made me feel kind of instantly comfortable and at home, which was cool. And doing those location ones and stuff, you know, if I'm making music again, if I'm making albums anyway, I'm kind of always thinking about the kind of pictures I'm trying to paint with music, especially because lots of my tracks are instrumental. You know, you kind of want your music to instantly take you to a certain time or place or person. So it's stuff that I had form for. And yeah, I mean, there were obviously challenges and stuff, but I always felt comfortable, and a lot of that is down to the amazing Kaizen team, who I just think are some of the coolest people in the world. They're the best.
All right, I got one more question about Promise Mascot Agency, and this is the most
Dude,
important
I will
question
answer
of all.
questions about it all day long. So whatever you got, hit me up.
This is the most important question I'm going to ask today.
Oh, baby.
Who's your favorite mascot?
Oh, it's such a tough one. It's such a tough one, and it's like being asked your favorite song. It kind of changes every single day. I love Kokemaru, Big Koke. He's been on my mind because later on today I am going to visit my folks. My plan is with my mum, we're going to make a couple of kokedama, and for anyone who doesn't know, that's kind of like a it's a Japanese form of kind of potting and displaying a plant. So rather than a traditional plant pot, you wrap a ball of soil up in moss, and you have a plant growing out the top of it. And Kokemaru kind of resembles exactly that, which is very cool. And he's just a lovable ball of moss. I also a lot of the mascots um, are some of the mascots required me to make their voice, essentially. The ones that don't have actual voices, like also like Kurushi as well. And
Yeah, Kurushi's up there for me.
oh, me too. There's on any other day, maybe he would take the top spot. So so it was fun doing their voices as well. It was nice to get to do weird sounds for both of them, which is cool. Which is something I guess I haven't really touched on, that as well as the music for Promise Mascot Agency, there was quite a bit of sound design involved too, which was cool. So I love doing the voices for those mascots, and I built a lot of the UI sounds and stuff like that. Something which I always love to talk about. I know this isn't really part of the question, but I will take any chance to bring it up.
Go for it.
Every time you smash one of the mayor signs in the game, again, for anyone who hasn't played it, a lot of the time you're driving through the town, and you're kind of smashing down signs and billboards, advertising this corrupt mayor, and it's a great feeling smashing every one of those signs.
Oh, it's so satisfying.
It's very satisfying. The sound of the sound of the sign smashing was created by me and my friend Gary in his back garden, just smashing up loads of bits of wood and stuff that he had in his like he just moved into the house. He just moved into the house, and the previous owner left behind loads like wooden pallets and things like that. So we took a full day and smashed them to smithereens, and it was just awesome. So shout out to my friend Gary for doing that. Also, at one point, he got whacked in the stomach by a bit of wood that was that flew through the air. He was quite all right, don't worry, but probably somewhere buried in the mix, you can probably hear him going, "Oh!" I think I managed to EQ it out. But yeah, so that was cool too. We got way off top of there. Well, I got way off top of there. We're talking about favorite.
Oh no, I love it. I love it.
I love them all. I just love them all. But those are two of my faves. But hey, I mean, he's the first one you meet. But I love Tofu, best boy. He just he's a little guy who wants to make life better for himself, and above all else, wants to make life better for those around him. And that's great. I'm looking at my little papercraft Tofu that sits beside me right now. I've got my Pinky plush on the other side. They're just all great. Yeah, they're all great.
They're all great. I am partial to Tofu myself. I think he is my favorite. I feel like that makes me a little bit basic, but I don't care. I would die. I would die for Tofu.
Absolutely nothing basic about the bestest, weepiest block of tofu there is. I love him to bits. Who wouldn't? Who wouldn't love him? If you don't love tofu, you're not welcome in my house.
Yeah, you know what? I think that's a good policy to have. I agree with that.
Absolutely.
Well, thank you for being on. This was a delightful talk, and I had a great time.
Oh, me too. The pleasure was absolutely all mine. It's an honor getting to talk about the weird stuff that I get up to, and you're a delight of a person, so it's been great.
That's good to hear. I try to trick people into thinking that I'm fun to talk to, and so far, doing an all right job, sounds like.
Hey, you're kicking ass at it. You're 100% winning.
Well, where can people find your stuff? What's the best way they can go support you and support your work and all that?
Oh, the best place. If you want to hear my inner thoughts and see what I'm up to on a daily basis, Blue Sky is the best place to do that. I'm on all of the I'm on the socials. I'm on Instagram. I always feel like I'm doing Instagram wrong, but I'm on there. I'm on YouTube. I'm probably doing YouTube wrong as well, because as we said, I just put up whatever I feel like. I know I should probably focus on a niche, but hey, if I've got cool records, I want to show them off, I'm going to put them on there. If I've got weird gear that I want to show off, it's going to go on there. But there's loads of stuff about my musical process. There's loads of me goofing around. I think there's a bit of even live streaming a couple of games and stuff. So that's good fun. In terms of supporting what I do, which is so appreciated all the time. I'm a big Bandcamp fan. My music is everywhere. It's on all the big streaming, the evil places. I'm grateful for anyone listening anywhere, but Bandcamp provides like direct support right in my heart and pocket, which is great. So all my music is on my own personal Bandcamp. The Promise Mascot Agency soundtrack is on the Kaizen Gameworks Bandcamp. There's still cassettes and vinyl out there. And listen, I know I'm biased, but they're really good records. There's there's all the music by me. There's all the music by Ryo Koike. Both are available and both absolutely rip. So if anyone fancies checking that out, it would make me the happiest man in the world. But hey, just if you look up Alpha Chrome Yayo, you'll find me on the internet, and I'll be happy to have your eyes and ears. that would make me very happy.
I only recently started, even as somebody that really likes video game music, it's kind of all I listen to. Embarrassingly, I listen to a lot of
nothing
game
embarrassing
soundtracks.
about that. I listen to a lot of soundtracks too. I listen to a lot of soundtracks before I even play the game. Sometimes, I'd had the Silent Hill F soundtrack on heaps before I even played it. So no shame in that.
I only recently started buying vinyls of. I've been talking about how I should start collecting vinyls, because that's just sort of a cool thing to be collecting. I only recently started, and Promise is definitely on my list of ones that I want to pick up.
Very, very nice. Very, very nice. I should also shout out Jose Salot, who did the artwork for the records and cassettes. I've been a big fan of his for years. I kind of always wanted to approach him about doing some artwork for my own releases. So kind of getting to automatically work with him all of a sudden was a joy. So absolutely, anyone who likes cool art in their eyes, check out Pepe Salot as well. Pepe Slot or Jose Slot. Both are his names. As a man of many names myself, I can understand that. Yeah, well, hey, good luck on your vinyl collecting journey, and RIP to your wallet.
Yeah,
I'm a big vinyl fan myself, and I know that's. I kind of I placed a large vinyl order from one of my favorite stores in Kyoto yesterday, and then felt a bit sick afterwards about the amount of money I just spent. So hey, if anyone wants to offset that by visiting my Bandcamp and wants to keep me in jazz vinyl for another day, that would sure be real nice. But yeah, it's great. It's great. I love physical media in general, both music and movies and books and everything. So it's a great thing to be doing. So enjoy that collection, dude. You'll have a blast.
I will make sure. I'm going to make sure that a link to your Bandcamp and your YouTube and Blue Sky are in the show notes. So everybody make sure that this man can buy some more vinyls. It's vitally important.
Yeah, and feed my family,
And yeah, there's
playing
also
a small violin there.
I guess if you need to put aside some money for that, that's understandable.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I've got real humans to look after, as well as my plastic discs of sounds.
Well, again, thank you for coming on and talking to me. I had a great time, and I will go ahead and let you go.
Hey, thank you so much. Truly, thanks for having me. I love getting to do this, and it's been a total pleasure. And thanks loads to anyone who's listened to me waffle on about stuff.
And that does it. That's a wrap for this episode of Pixel Symphonic. Special thanks to this month's guest, Alpha Chrome Yayo. Again, that conversation was just so fun to have, and I'm really thankful he came onto the show to have it. I'm really looking forward to what he works on next, especially with the tantalizing possible clues he may have dropped during the interview. Thank you again, and I hope you enjoyed it as much as I did. Next month, we'll be talking not to a composer, but to somebody more connected to the fanworks side of the scene. My guest next month is Larry Oji, who currently serves as the community manager and one of the judges at Overclocked Remix, one of the oldest still surviving platforms for game music arrangements on the internet, having been established all the way back in 1999. It's another conversation I came away from feeling electrified. Larry is a really cool dude, and yes, I know I sound like a broken record because I keep saying that about every guest, but it keeps being true. I hope you're looking forward to hearing it. If you would like to keep updated on Pixel Symphonic, you can follow the show on Blue Sky at pixelsymphonic.bsky.social. If everything went correctly, hopefully it did, there should now be a Patreon that was launched alongside this episode. And if it wasn't, then you'll have seen an update on Blue Sky. So if you're curious about which way that went, that's the place to go check. You can find Pixel Symphonic and my other show, Smashterpieces, at anondino.squarespace.com. If you like this episode and you have a minute, it'd be a great help if you could leave a comment and rate us on your podcatcher of choice, or tell a friend if you think they think this show would be cool. Every little bit helps, and I'd really appreciate it. Our logo was designed by Annika Weller. The music featured in this episode was Candy Step and Midnight Trip by Nor. To play us out, I wanted to play one of my favorite songs from Promise Mascot Agency. It's the track Mascot Dreams by Alpha Chrome Yayo. A nice and hopeful theme that plays when you're helping one of the mascots who works for you achieve their dreams. I hope you enjoy it. Thank you for listening. I'll see you again next month. Stay safe out there.